Ty, welcome to the Mental Game. Really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Want to start with, you have accomplished so much in your football career and in your personal life. What role has your mentality, your mindset played in your success in your life?
Well, I think that's probably the biggest part of it. You look at guys playing college football or even in the NFL. Athletically, there's not a big difference in a lot of guys, and I've always tried to tell our guys, it's the guys that put time in mentally, and especially at the quarterback position, it's the mental approach more than anything. And so I feel like that helped me along the way, being able to shake things off, being able to have a little mental toughness and thick skin. And playing Philly, you got to learn to, have some thick skin and
Tough fans
have
out
some
there.
confidence in yourself, that kind of thing. But I think for most people, it's the mental side of things, especially in sports.
Talking about confidence, where did your confidence come from? Was it the preparation you put in? Was it, the success you had in the past? Where did that come from?
I think it grows with you. Success leads to confidence. Failure sometimes leads to confidence. I remember my first action here at BYU was the Wyoming game, and went in. Sean Covey got hurt. Went in, threw a touchdown the first series I was in, I think, and then 4 interceptions and a fumble later. It was like, man, that was a bad game. But I learned what I needed to do better and what I needed to focus on from that. So that gave me confidence going forward that, hey, I need to iron these things out. I need to work harder, and through work, through reps, you gain that confidence that it's going to be okay. So, but even as a kid, I remember, my grandparents and my parents talking all the time. My grandpa would let me win at everything. My dad wouldn't let me win at anything, And so I had a good balance there where you gain confidence or think you're having confidence beating your grandpa, and then just wanted to challenge your dad in golf or basketball or whatever it was. And just...
He didn't take it easy.
He didn't take it easy. No, I remember, we'd play golf to see who had to mow the yard when I was middle school, high school, and he'd give me a couple strokes here and there, and just enough where I could get right there, and then he'd win it at the end. I'd choke or something, but it was just always that chase. But I think as a kid, I learned or gained confidence through playing, through having some success, and then some failures as well.
So, Ty, I think you're known for having this super positive, just happy, character and personality. Do you feel like that helps you respond to failure in the right way? Was that something that you just kind of learned growing up or developed, or is it who you are?
Yeah, I think my parents instilled that in us kids, that, it was kind of, like, hey, you can't change what just happened. What are you going to do going forward? And how do you react to things? So part of it's my personality, I think. Just, I'm not a bitter person. I'm not a person that stews over things. I can get over things pretty quick. And maybe part of that's playing sports and being a quarterback, where you throw it 30 times a game and you're going to, have, 10 incompletions of those, hopefully just 10. But yeah, it's the next play, next rep, and not what you did, but what are you doing going forward? So part of it, I think sports helps develop that mentality where, okay, you're going to have some bad plays, you're going to have some good plays. It doesn't matter if it was a good play, you still got to go play the next one. So that's kind of been a metaphor for life on a lot of things that happen to you in life.
So in your NFL career, a big part of your career was mentoring younger players. And I think you were known for being the master of the playbook and staying 1-2 steps ahead of the defenses you faced. What were some of the things that you tried to help younger players with?
Yeah, I think for me, it was helping them understand the offense, how to prepare, how to, how to play the position a little bit. Even, being, behind the scenes with guys. Also, a little bit keeping it loose. Kind of talking them through some of the things that happen, share my experiences, things like that. You don't want to be that guy that's like, I did it this way or I did it that way. But just little nuances, I think, behind the scenes, helping them understand the position. When they came in, Joey Harrington was a top pick, Tim Couch, a couple of those guys. And then when Mike Vick was playing in Atlanta, Matt Schaub and I spent a lot of time, watching and talking, and some guys like that where maybe it wasn't the starter you were helping, but a young guy they were kind of grooming to be the guy. So I enjoyed it, though. I mean, I enjoyed having those moments and sharing times that I had or any knowledge I had.
How much of it was trying to keep it loose? Because I mean, I was never close to being an NFL quarterback, but I played football. But and had to digest a playbook, and it just gets deeper and more complicated the higher you go up. But how do you keep that level of like playfulness and keeping it loose but focused at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, I coach high school ball now, and kind of that same mentality where they call me Ted Lasso down there, because it's like, everything's positive, having a good time, but we're going to work and we're going to try to win and we're going to teach you the game. And it was that way as a player, when you're in Cleveland and you're 2-13 or 1-14, it can be a long season. And so, you try to keep things, moving, and if you're not having fun, it can be miserable, and so even in those moments, I mean, you got to understand the situation, and timing's everything, right? But you can't just be a clown, but you can have moments where you keep it fun and entertaining and have a good time doing it, even though maybe you're not having a successful season.
Right. So lots of people talk about getting in the zone, and I think it was something that you were very good at in your time at BYU and in the NFL, just really consistent, every game. And was there anything you did to try and get in that zone? Was it this, having fun mindset that helped you get there?
No, it was a little different for me, like playing, getting ready for the game. I remember at BYU, it was like, you'd kind of find ways to like kind of almost get yourself fired up, mad a little bit, play a little bit edge. Angry, like, hey, they're trying to take this away from us, that kind of thing where it kind of locks you in. And there were games where it was that way. I think the Miami game was like where it was kind of laser focused, and you're just like, they were so cocky, and it wasn't hard to get up for that one, but the games maybe where you feel like you should blow a team out, you got to kind of get yourself into that mindset. So I know a lot of guys listen to certain music or, just have those thoughts. And that was kind of my deal at BYU, was just kind of put yourself in a situation where it was competitive, and that mindset where they're trying to take something from you and got to prove them wrong, kind of deal. And I had a little bit of that anyway, because I wasn't the biggest guy and always heard about that, and so kind of that mindset of prove people wrong. And so have fun during the week and get ready and prepare, and then come game time, you got to kind of flip the switch. And a lot of guys are able to do that,
And it's okay to be a different person when you're on the field and you cross the line. Let's go, it's on.
Yeah, you're going to be competitive. You don't have to be a jerk or cheap shot people or play dirty, but you gotta have that competitive nature and that mindset when you step on the field or the court.
Yeah, I think that was big for me. I had to get myself to a different place mentally to be on edge and play at the highest level, right? Were there any coaches or people you played with that you felt like really, exemplified that?
Yeah, Steve Mariucci, he was my quarterback coach in Green Bay, head coach in San Francisco and Detroit, and I think Andy Reid does a great job of it as well, where, you know, you can still be a good guy. You can keep things in perspective off the field, but they're competitors and they get fired up and they want to win. And Lavell was that way. I mean, he hated to lose, you know, as much as he kind of joked about, you know, different things and after losing a game, but he was a very competitive person. And so those three guys, I think, keep things in perspective. The family's still important. You know, all the things that go on in your life are important, but hey, we're here to compete and we're going to go play, and it hurts to lose, you know. But you can come back Monday and regroup and start over if you do, and it's okay. You know, things will be all right.
Right. So, would you say that some of your biggest lessons came in football or outside of football? You know, you have 4 daughters now, and
football doesn't prepare you for 4 daughters, that's for sure. But it does help you, you know, when they make a mistake. Okay, you know, hey, if you're willing to put the work in and move forward, let's go. You know, it's not where you've been, it's where you're going. My dad used to say, it's not where you start, it's where you end up. And so, you know, definitely football has been a big part of that. You know, you're going to get knocked down, you're going to get hit hard, and are you going to get up and stand in there and throw it the next down? Are you going to be able to hang in there and when things get tough? And so, you know, you might lose the game, but you win the season, you know. And so, yeah, I mean, there's been things in our life that have happened that don't make you happy, but it's like, okay, it happened. What are we doing? And where are we going? So it's definitely a sport mentality. I think any sport is that way, where you have failure. It's okay to fail. It's all right to make a mistake, you know, as long as you're trying and you're willing to correct it, it's okay. So.
Yeah. Are there any other lessons that you're trying to help your daughters, you know, see and understand from a mindset standpoint, attacking life and trying to accomplish things?
Yeah, I think all those things where, you know, they're gonna have some things happen to them. They're gonna have some failures. They're gonna make some mistakes. And so, you know, my wife and we're big believers in repentance and being able to move forward. And so, like I said, as long as they're willing to work on things and move forward, you're going to learn from past mistakes. And in the end, it'll probably make you a stronger person because you've been through some tough times.
Yeah, it's interesting too. You bring up repentance and faith and those things. Like, I've always felt that my mindset has been kind of intertwined with my faith. And, you know, playing basketball, my preparation, like, and everything that comes with it, overcoming failure, going through some challenging times. Like, my faith always kind of went right alongside my mentality, and I felt like, you know, God wants us to have a strong mind and wants us to use our mind the right way.
Right.
Do you feel similar?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you know, our faith has been our cornerstone. You know, that whatever's happened, being, you know, traded from Cleveland to Detroit, or, you know, being let go here at BYU, or whatever it may be, you're able to say, okay, I know there's probably something good around the corner. You know, we're doing the right things. We're take it to our Heavenly Father. We'll pray about it and we'll move on. And you know, every time I feel like, you know, when we've done that or had something bad happen, our faith has kind of pulled us through and we've moved on, and better things have been there for us, or you see, yeah, I was supposed to be there, you know, at that time, and now we're supposed to be here at this time. And so, you know, we definitely feel like that's happened every step along the way. And you know, we all played with guys that maybe didn't have faith in their life. And I don't know how you do it without it, because how do you start over or regroup without having faith in something that can help you? And so for me and my wife, our faith has really helped us to just put things in perspective. This is a blip on the radar, you know. when you believe in eternity, that's a long time. 14 years in the NFL is not a long time in the grand scheme of things. And so, when it was moving team to team, it was all right. We're gonna pray about it, make a decision, and then when you get there, you say, okay, this is where we're supposed to be. We made the right decision. So.
So Ty, what did Lavell Edwards teach you about preparation and mindset, and why was that so important?
Yeah, I think Lavell was great because he allowed you to have fun in preparation. Norm Chow was OC, Roger French was there, and those guys were kind of like, make sure you were detailed and on task, and Lavell held it all together, and he was great though because he allowed you to kind of have your own personality and how you did it as long as you were preparing and you were ready to go. And so playing for him was perfect for me because it was similar to my dad. We played loose, we had a good time, but we played hard and we won a lot of games because we were prepared. And so Lavell was that way where, okay, we're gonna go in, we're gonna practice hard, we're gonna play hard and prepare to win. And then he gave you that confidence to be able to go out there and do that.
That's awesome. So Ty, was there ever a time at BYU when you were nervous about being the guy and stepping up and being, that next great quarterback at BYU?
I don't remember being nervous about having to be the guy. 'Cause I got to play some my redshirt freshman year, kind of some backup role, come in at half. A couple games came back and won. A couple games we didn't. But I remember being excited about it and kind of that sophomore year, Sean missed spring practice. I kind of won the job at that time, and it was like, all right, let's go.
You were fired up. You were ready for it.
I was excited, and you're young, you're dumb. You don't. Maybe I didn't realize what it all entailed, but I knew when I got on campus and seeing the All-American pictures in the team room and the Davey O'Brien medals on the wall that, man, it would be great if I had a chance to be one of those guys, and that chance was there. So it wasn't nervous to be in that role or scared to be the guy. It was more of an excitement and just ready to go, ready to take it on. And so I think if you're nervous and you play scared and you're worried about things, you're going to play tight and grip the ball a little tighter, maybe hold it a little longer, and so most of the guys I've played with were able to go out there and play with confidence and cut it loose and make plays. Brett didn't worry about anything. He just went out there and threw it. And sometimes ignorance is bliss, Yes. So, when you're having confidence and Lavell instilled that, like, hey, you're the guy, let's go. And
he gave you assurance.
Looking back, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. He gave me the confidence that I was going to be in there and I was going to be the guy, and didn't have to look over my shoulder.
Did you ever think it would lead to all the success at BYU and become a Heisman Trophy winner?
No, that just kind of happens a little bit along the way. My sophomore year we played well. I think that game against Penn State in the bowl game we lost, but we threw for 500 and something yards against Penn State. And as a kid, I'd watched Penn State play and on TV, and they shut down Miami in their bowl game, and it was like, man, this is Penn State defense. That's what they were known for. And then we threw for 500, and I think that game really, jump-started us for my junior year and beating Miami and having a chance to win the Heisman Trophy at that point.
So you mentioned Brett. What stood out to you about Brett Favre? What separated him from the rest of the pack?
A lot of times when I talk to groups, I compare Brett and Steve Young. I played with both. Brett was this loose, gunslinger, could just play and not worry about anything and just like make the next throw. We might not play great parts of the game, and then he would just throw this rocket for a game winner, at the end of the game. And so you kind of learn, like, just watching him, like, hey, you got to play loose. You got you got to let your athleticism or, flow a little bit. Where Steve was just, he had to know every detail and be prepared and could recite the game plan, play for play, formation and personnel group and play. And so Steve was great because of that. And so it kind of taught me, like, everybody's different, and as a coach, you got to kind of allow guys to be different. And so it just shows you that everybody's going to have a different mentality. Everybody's going to have a different skill set, and guys can still be successful doing it their own way. And so after looking back, it was like night and day difference in what they did, but both NFL MVPs, both Super Bowl winners, and Hall of Famers. So it can be done a lot of different ways.
Would you give that advice to younger players, saying, hey, you got to find your own way to do things and the way that works for you?
Yeah, and I think as coaches sometimes we're like, it needs to be done this way, and I look back at some of the guys I've coached and like, okay, maybe I should have allowed them to be a little bit more freelance a little bit, and not be so hard on them, doing it my way or the way I want it. But I share that with young players, but the thing that they all did have too was that competitive spirit and that team mentality. So there are some characteristics that are similar. That's why they were great. But even though maybe they did it a different way, but they did have those characteristics that they hated to lose, they prepared to win. But then when the game started, it was totally different type of way of doing it.
So, Ty, when you're in a huddle and you're trying to keep the team composed, maybe there's some stuff that's going wrong. How do you keep everyone focused and on the same page and going towards the same goal?
Yeah, I think you've got to show confidence. If you're the guy calling plays, if you're in there and your demeanor's down, we talk about it all the time with athletes, whatever sport it is, your body language says a lot about the situation. And so you've got to stay upbeat, you got to stay positive, because those guys are looking at you, and if they see you come in down and dejected, it's not going to be good. They're going to take on your personality. You can't be all chipper and messing around either in a hard time. But if you come in, just kind of lay out the plan and call the play in a positive type of voice and demeanor. A lot of times they gain some confidence in how you're leading. So it goes that way for everybody in business or whatever. Being the head of the family, you got to kind of maintain that composure and that mentality. So that was always big too, with Steve Mariucci and John Gruden quarterback notes and things. It's like, hey, be a leader, be positive, be energetic, let them see the right body language, because guys are looking at you.
Yeah. How much of those moments were affected by like the preparation before? Because as a quarterback, you got to be on page with your running back and your wide receivers, your line, everybody really.
Right.
How much of those relationships, were developed before, and that helped you in those moments exude confidence, right?
I would say most of it. That's why you go through a training camp. That's why you practice for 6 days and play on the 7th, so it's all preparation. It's all leading up to that. It's all building that team bond in training camp or spring ball or summer weights and working together and knowing what guys have put in and gaining that confidence that, you can battle through tough times. And so that's the purpose of all of those hard things you do in the off season and preseason training, to get to that moment, to have the confidence and build that team chemistry that you can overcome things.
Yeah. So, Ty, was there ever a moment in a huddle where there was a turning point with a player where you needed to make a specific play, and you guys were on the same page, and you were able to make it happen?
Yeah, There's several of those happen. Andy Boyce was a great receiver here for us, and he and I kind of had a little chemistry where we could kind of look at each other and talk about it on the sideline, and go out and we get the same look we had before, and it's like, all right, he's running the go, but I'm going to check to the slant because they're starting to pick up on our signals, and so things like that happen, all the time.
That's when it's fun.
It is. It's and then he runs right by the guy, and we score a touchdown, and we get a big laugh on the sideline, like we got him, and I think as a coach too, you're constantly trying to give confidence to your players and kids that, hey, come on, we've worked on this. We're better than what we're showing. You guys know that. And, our team last year, we had 26 seniors, so we were senior heavy. We had 18 of them started on one side of the ball or the other. And those guys, it was a different group because they were loose and they were kind of a goofy bunch of kids, but man, they played hard. And if you tightened them up and you tried to make them be quiet on the bus on the way to the game or things like that, they would not play well. And they were the type of team that if we started out slow, you could kind of jump on them, and you had to wake them up a little bit, and hey, let's go. You guys are better than this. You know that. Let's go. And then they would kick it in. And so, as a player, you have those moments in the huddle or at practice or, on the sideline during a game where you make some adjustments. As a coach, you're that way as well, where you got to know the personality of your team and what you can and can't do. And even every kid, the old school used to be treat every player the same. And I don't think it's that way. I think some kids shut down if you yell at them. Some kids will rise to the challenge and take it as a challenge. And so you got to know how kids tick and what makes them work and what you can and can't do with them. So, that's been fun, kind of learning the personality
and that
of
takes
each
time,
kid.
right? That
It
takes
does.
time to understand each of your players.
It does. And, again, spending time with them in the weight room, spending time on the practice field, you kind of learn how they work, and you can see their demeanor change if you jump on somebody or if, maybe you need to pull them aside and explain it and put your arm around them. Or if you do jump on them, you put your arm around them and, hey, it's because we love you. We're just, I know you can do
Trying to
better.
help you.
You're not giving effort. I know you have it in you, and give them some confidence that way.
So Ty, in a lot of our conversations in the mental game series, people talk about staying in the moment, being present, and I think that looks different for everyone, and it's a challenge for everybody. How do you try and stay present in your life?
Yeah, I think, my wife always says, hey, put your phone down, be where you are when you're there,
Yeah.
And so it's kind of that way in everything we do. If we're on the practice field, you got to be locked in. You got to kind of hang in there and be dialed in. If you're in a meeting, you got to be present. You can't be distracted and be drifting off. And, I've seen a lot of guys drift off and then get cut 2 weeks later, because they didn't stay in the moment. They weren't present. They kind of thought they had it figured out and just going to do it my way. And so, I think when people can master that, great things happen. And that's why some of the players, your Hall of Famers, people like that are there because they're able to lock in. They're able to be in that moment and stay in it. Other guys show flashes. Maybe they're in and out. And so the consistent great players, I feel like, have always been able to be consistent because they've been able to stay in it.
Ty, how do you bounce back from difficult times, injuries in specific? You had an Achilles injury. You've talked about concussions before. How do you bounce back from injuries like that?
Yeah, I think, again, it goes back to hard work. It goes back to putting time in, and then you got to gain confidence too with that body part that was hurt too, right? I mean, you see guys tear an ACL. It seems like that first year back, they're still maybe a little tentative.
A little hesitant.
Don't want to have that injury happen again until they gain confidence and they can play free and loose and not have that in the back of their mind. They're maybe a step slower or thing. So it's working at it. It's putting the time in to overcome and gain confidence in whatever's been injured to be able to go out and then play without thinking about it. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people because I see it in some of our players. I've seen it with guys around me that they did maybe lose a step that first year. Year two, they're back to normal because they had a year, a season under their belt, and they gained confidence that, okay, it's healed, it's ready to go. I've even seen some guys play better with an injury, or an ankle sprain or something like that.
Because they're not thinking about anything else.
You're kind of, you got to slow down. It takes the nervous jitters out a little bit of the game. I felt like I played a little better being a little sick or something the times that I had it because it calms you down a little bit. And so everybody's a little different and it depends on the injury. If you can't hurt it anymore or it's a bruise or something, you can push through that. But if it's something you've had to put 6 months of rehab into, that's going to weigh on you a little bit. So you got to gain confidence through hard work and pushing it and rehab and making sure it's ready to go.
In your opinion, Ty, what are some good characteristics of a leader? What makes a good leader in your mind?
To me, it's a person that leads by example more than anything. And then you gain the credibility that when something does need to be said or when you say something, they take it to heart. I've been around coaches that were yellers and screamers. Pretty soon, midway through the season, you've tuned it out and you don't respect that. For me, I didn't respect that type of leadership. It gets old and it wears on guys. But a coach that teaches you and is there with you and working with you, and then, hey, when he snaps and he,
the respect is there,
you respect that. You're like, okay, coach is serious. Like, we got to do better. And same for a player. I've been around, players that didn't say much. They worked hard. They put the time in. You respected their work ethic. And then when they said something in the locker room, it was like, all right, we gotta toe the line here. And so for me, it's lead by example first and foremost. And then when you do say something, people are going to listen and respect that.
Love that.